Hello, YouTubers. Before we get started with the weather topics tonight, I want to go over an error that I made in the last deck. And the new route efficiency number I have is 90%, and I think I had 96%, which was wrong. But I don't think that really changes the substance of the argument that I was trying to make. This is still indicative of a very efficient route, and I think it still is that efficiency which is at the heart of why this is, such a popular offshore route to the Bahamas from the Chesapeake. October 31st, 2024. Let's take a look at some departing vessels.
Clear the pilot.
Good example of one of those big cats I was talking about in the last video. So you can see she's much too tall for the ICW. And they're going to go down and do what we were talking about as the inshore route. They're headed for that N2 buoy at the Diamond Shoals. They think they'll be there tomorrow morning. They're prepared to motor. A lot of wind today out of the southwest. And that segues into what I want to talk about next, which is when should we leave? When does hurricane season end? According to NOAA, I think they call it at the 30th of November, and a lot of people sail to that. They wait till December, early December, to make the move. And while that's a good idea in terms of minimizing the chances for a late season hurricane, it's starting to get very cold towards the end of November. And also the risk from the North Atlantic winter storm season is increasing. So that's your trade off. But it's perfectly viable to wait till 1 December to start really looking for a window. Another source we can look at are insurance carriers. Pretty much all marine policies have a clause called navigation limits, where the underwriter specifies areas that you can't be in at certain times, or maybe at any time. For example, my policy prohibits me from being south of Hatteras until after November 1st. So you could interpret that as my carrier viewing hurricane season as ending on November 1st. So we've got a bounded problem now. Somewhere between November 1st and November 30th is where we're going to say hurricane season ends, and we're going to start looking for a window to go offshore. To help do that, I've got the famous NOAA Atlantic Campfire graphic here, so we can take a look at that together. Along the x-axis, we've got months, and along the y-axis, we have what basically translates into a frequency distribution, and that's the way I'm going to think about it, as probability. So don't get hung up on the numbers. What we're interested in understanding is the relative probability that storms could occur from one period to another period. As we look at the lower right portion between November 1st and December 1st, you can see that November starts out with a bump, and then it decreases towards the middle of the month, and then a secondary bump, and then flat decreasing as it goes into December. Apparently, from the historical data they're using, there were a lot more late season hurricanes in the first half of November than the second half. And so I think it would be prudent for us if we were to wait until, say, November 15th and take the first window after the 15th of November. It's also useful to look at an example. And so what I've got here is from the NOAA report on Hurricane Nicole, which occurred in November 2022, so 2 years ago, pretty fresh. And as you can see, on the 6th of November, we have the formation of this storm. Looks like it's northeast of the Dominican Republic. And then the track proceeds north. She starts to gain energy. And on the 7th, looks like she's due east of the Abacos and starting to turn west, headed northwest or west northwest, right at the 7th of November. And you can follow that track up through the 8th and the 9th, and somewhere on the 9th, the storm made landfall in the Abacos. And I think this storm passed right over Marsh Harbor and then proceeded across the Gulf Stream into Florida and then turns north up into Georgia and beyond. They don't happen very often, but they're very unpredictable, and you don't know where they're going to be generated from, and you don't know what their paths are going to be. And so it's very important that we get this right. Also, and this is just anecdotal, but this hurricane occurred in the first half of November. Okay, before we leave for tonight, I just want to go over the basic mechanics of getting over the stream. So we're looking at the current model in Windy again, and we can see the Gulf Stream where it's coming from the southwest going to the northeast, and we discussed how we're going to basically cross that in a perpendicular fashion from nearby Hatteras on a heading of 135, which is southeast. The general feature that we're going to wait for is a cold front, and the cold front will drive wind from the northwest and allow us to have the wind behind us and not to have a component of the wind, or at least a significant component of the wind, opposing the current in the stream, because the wind over current situation is what we are trying to avoid. If we had a substantial wind opposing that current, a wind say from the northeast, would be very bad. It would create steep waves with very short periods. It could be very dangerous. So that's not a condition where we would enter the stream. So with a cold front behind us, we want to power ourselves over the stream in such a way that we don't have the wind over current situation, and that we also have wind with a northern component, because after we get over the stream, we have to travel south. Switching over to the wind mode, I was able to find a cold front projected for Saturday, the 9th of November. And, we would not be taking this for multiple reasons. One of which is that we've decided that we're not going to even consider a window until after the 15th. But this is good just to give some illustration. So we've got a cold front that's come through. We've got wind here, which is north-northwest. So we do have a component of the wind that is in opposition to the current in the stream, but it's probably not too significant. I put a marker where I think the middle of the stream is approximately, and windy is the model showed this. The European model is showing a 19 knot wind. If I check gusts are pretty high, 26 knots. Not sure we would want to be in the stream with winds that high. It's an edge case there. And if I want to also check waves, looks like 6 feet is what's being predicted. And you're very close to a region of much larger waves there to the northeast. So this is a marginal situation, and probably one that we would turn down. But I wanted to show it because I think it had enough of the features that I could illustrate just the basic mechanics of how this is going to work. Because as we go forward from here, it's just all about waiting for the weather window and evaluating the forecasts and what the model output looks like. This pretty much ends the theoretical discussion and explanation of the route and how we're going to mechanically cross the stream with a cold front and all that. So from here on out, it's all about the weather window, and that's going to dictate the details of when we leave. So thanks for coming and watching again, and I'll see you soon.